and our field needs to approach this. And I think we are in a very conscientious and thoughtful way. But there's a learning curve.
Yeah, that's what actually struck me about your podcast and what you're doing. Despite Amy Fellman's recommendation that I interview you, I was kind of dragging my feet a little bit. Thinking, oh, this sounds like kind of some kind of huckster idea. You know, this guy's going to make a bunch of money, and I just, my initial impression before any contact or exposure with you, right? This is my own shadow projection, was kind of negative. And but then the thing that really turned me around very quickly was starting to listen to your podcast. And right away, I hear you talking about ethics and having high standards and the importance of that. And so I was won over right away.
Well, thank you. I'm glad. Because
I really value that about what you're doing.
I think that I'm getting that response from across the board at this symposium we went to. And my wife and I went down together and we set up a booth talking about online counseling and the directory. And prior to the opening the vendor hall, all the therapists were in conference, right? They were listening to different talks and getting their continuing education credits. And the speaker just prior to opening the vendor hall was the dangers of online counseling.
Oh, great.
So they had just listened to 2 hours about the dangers about this, and then they open up the vendor hall, and there I am with my smiling face. They thought I was a snake.
Wow. You know, I've mentioned to a few people that I was going to do this interview, and again, there was that same kind of reaction as red flags. Oh, this sounds, you know.
Absolutely.
This I think be a good thing. So,
well,
I see you've got a little bit of an uphill climb.
I do. And it's interesting. When I talk to therapists who are doing this, almost every one of them said, I started because my client needed it. My client came to me, whether it was a student who's going off to college and they wanted to continue their sessions, or it was a business person who was going to be away and wanted to continue sessions, or someone who was actually moving and didn't want to discontinue. And they came to the therapist. So this is client driven sometimes, and said, will you do this? Will you look into it? And so the therapist then has to go and research it, because I think we all, when faced with change, we get a little fearful, a little concerned, don't want to lose our licenses. Is this a thing? But once you start doing the research and you learn how to do it ethically, correctly, following all your association guidelines and the state law, you can do this, and it can be incredibly effective.